not, I don't think anyone else will show up. This is going to be about the relationship between developers and streamers. Who's here is a developer?
Is anyone here a developer, a game developer themselves, or a Twitch streamer perhaps? Twitch streamers, okay. You guys came into the right place.
Just in time.
Just in time.
So I'm Nano or nanohero. I stream on Twitch. I mainly stream like indie games. That's why I brought this weird game. The developers with me. So yeah, I indie games, and over to my right is JC.
Yep. My name is JChalant. My friends call me JC. You're welcome to do so. I come from the YouTube space. I am YouTube certified for growth, so I help people develop their YouTube channels and grow there. Over the last year, I've been involving myself in various stream activities to learn more about streaming. Right now, Twitch is far and away the #1 Twitch streaming platform, 74% of the market, followed by YouTube with about 23%, and then Mixer, of course, with about 3 to 5%. But we've all heard about Mixer recently because of all the big changes that have been happening. And that's, you know,
big changes?
What big changes,
what
right?
What could you be talking about?
Right, so all of these game players are going over to Mixer, and Microsoft's spending that money on advertising is essentially what they're doing, so that when they're ready to get into the market for real, they're going to be in a good way. What I like to do, my channel is about helping people find career paths into interactive entertainment. So if they want to become a game designer, a developer, a programmer, if they're an artist or a musician who wants to do sound effects for games, I help them find those positions. Along the way, I also help people develop their YouTube channels and their Twitch channels. In the past, I haven't worked with Alex yet, but I have worked with Tyson at Crunchy Peach. I've done interviews about his project and got some insight from him for my audience about how to get into the gaming industry. So why don't we go over and introduce those two before we get more into those stories?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Tyson. I'm the owner of Crunchy Peach Entertainment. We mostly make mobile games and tabletop games. It's mostly kid-oriented or really fun kind of things. The two games we have kind of going on are Mystical Misfits, which is like a little chibi tower defense kind of game where they run around the screen and shoot magical spells at oncoming monsters. And then we have our card game, which is supposed to be a very quick kind of get to the table, play quickly, Lawn Warfare, and Oh No. And it's all about protecting your lawn from your neighbors, and you're trying to amass a lawn gnome army, right? And each of the gnomes have like special powers that you can like combo together. So it's essentially built to creative combos. So you play both the board and your hand in the game.
And I'm Alex from wickedcake Games. It's kind of a company I run myself. But I recently released my first project on Steam, Shadow Crawl. It's kind of a classic 80s style roguelike, but I kind of updated the game design because I've grown fed up. With your old school roguelikes, even to this day, they haven't updated the format. Little things like I've added 4 enemies to a tile, like classic roguelikes 30 years ago. 1 enemy to a tile because the best computer and 3 megabytes of memory on the whole system, and no one's updated the mechanics since then. So I just kind of started doing my own kind of games because there weren't games in the niches I wanted that kind of fit what I wanted to play. And who present first?
Okay, so I'm kind of curious, how did each of you guys get into your respective fields?
How did we get into our respective fields? Okay, I grew up in the Midwest and took computer programming classes through the local community college. It was a business school, so you didn't really learn programming with an emphasis towards entertainment. But when I had the opportunity, I started working as an intern for a small company in St. Louis called Semitronics, had multiple online multi-user dungeons that they would run. And I was responsible at one point for world development, creating environments and creating spells for those classes. I was also in the military simultaneously. So my military career brought me all over the world, eventually over at Luke. And then while I was here at Luke, I stopped working with Semitronics and took about 10 years off because the market crashed in 2008 or so. So I was trying to do whatever I could to make some money, so I could pay the bills. But recently, my finances have been in a better spot, My niece and nephew are grown to the age now where they're teenagers. They want to know about Uncle John and what it was like being a game designer. So that kind of re-sparked my passion a little bit. So now I've reintroduced myself to the gaming community, been going back and introducing myself to other game developers and designers and other programmers and people who I knew in the industry are still in the industry in different ways now, and meeting new people. That's where I'm at now, and continuing to take that message forward again on YouTube to help teach people how to get there if they want to get there. Because I'm feeling I'm a little bit old for the game now, but I can at least show people how to get there, you know. So that's where I'm at now. That's how I got into it.
So I've been streaming for like 3 years, though I started just like streaming what I want, like JRPGs mostly, but like after 3 years, no one was watching me, and I got like frustrated. And then I went to like JChalant Expo 1 year, and I thought it'd be cool to do with like indie games. Maybe I'll stream a couple of indie games once a week. Kind of chill into once a week because game developers saw gaming review copies, and I didn't have the numbers, so I felt best. So I thought, hey, what if I allow people to run devs to like pop into my chat, they can talk about their games, link it, and try and help get like indies more exposure, try and help get those like Kickstarters funded. And I've been doing like Nano's in Cafe for like about a year. So
Please.
yeah, so I just try to reach out to like various like developers and give them a space to like talk about the games, because there's like so many games now, because it's never been this easy to like make a game. So games can get like lost. So that's pretty much how I started.
Sure. I've pretty much been programming my whole life in indie game development for as long as I can remember. I even had like a kind of game website with weird projects I built for free from like sourced assets like Nintendo sprites and stuff like that back in the day. I even had one thing go viral in 2003 from, if you ever heard of the JChalant screensaver tool. But I kind of didn't do it professionally. I was just like doing tech support or contract work or that kind of thing. And I started working at indie game companies because I was just good at it. But like the way a lot of people run, it's just too like it's hard because a lot of these people, I actually feel bad for people who get a bunch of Kickstarter money immediately out of college, because like you're doomed. You're gonna build like your best project you can possibly do, and you have to fail really hard before you can kind of like figure out how to launch something. So I just kind of realized that the companies would kind of have this problem a lot, and I decided I need to make my own games and develop my own stuff and kind of not be under anyone else's clock. Because I add like insane features to my game. I would work at companies and like I would be just shouting insane things like I have the lunar calendar, I have missing no in my game, everything that pops into my head, I throw into the game. And I would do that at companies, and they'd always tell me like, you can't throw every idea that ever pops into your head into a video game. And now that I'm doing my own, like it turns out that I can. They'd also say if I made my own video game, it would be an episode of Family Guy with pop culture references every 30 seconds, and that part's true. But yeah, it's just nice to see that, yeah, I can kind of everything that pops in. So that's kind of how I started making my own projects and releasing them.
For me, I was a gamer baby. I started out like really young. My mom worked at Peter Pepper Pizza, so I got free arcade tokens all the time. That was basically my babysitter. And I just played games all the time, every day after school, and went from there. I graduated college with a computer programming or computer science degree and a bachelor's, and I've been kind of just making games since then.
Yeah, I should use a college degree.
I am actually using my college degree. Yep. Mostly different, yeah, right?
He's the only one who is. If I might interject for just a moment, we have these 5 people here, 6 people, 7 people. Thank you very much. 8 people. Yeah. Yay, thank you. Is there anything that brought you to this panel today that you had questions that you wanted answered that maybe we can try to knock out right away, so we don't like lose it in the time? Anything in particular that brought you here?
Probably the biggest one is going to be what is the quickest way to make a relationship with a game developer?
I believe I met Tyson at the Game On Expo through a handshake.
Yeah, that was exactly how.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you're a streamers, I presume all of you, did any of you go to TwitchCon this year?
I wish I could have played that.
All right. When you went to TwitchCon, did you go and introduce yourself to all the game developers?
As many as I could, yeah.
Okay. Did you see the kids that made the battle action card game that was using cryptocurrency technology to make sure people could have a secondary market?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Did you see the first-person shooter that was 3 times you go back in
Quantum
time?
League, yes.
Nimble Giant?
Yep.
Get a hold of them. I actually have an email correspondence right now with Geronimo. I'm in the works of trying to get an interview set up with him to provide that insight we talked about before.
Yeah. I've
So
been talking
him and
to
members
them.
of his staff are interested in doing that. And you'd be surprised. Most of the time, especially at those events at TwitchCon, they are actively marketing. And if you can present to them an opportunity for free advertising in exchange for free advertising, which is basically what you're doing at those events. Hey, I'm going to showcase your product on my page and tell everybody about it. I don't necessarily request any keys, but typically there's a stack of them right there that they're going to give you anyways, right?
Yep.
So just that would be my thing. Go introduce yourself to whatever game developer's there. What I've been doing lately is taking the free games from both Epic Game Store and Twitch Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you're already a Twitch Prime member? Okay. So you can get those games. Yeah. Get those games, and most of them have credits. So look at the credits, send them an email, say, hey, I just played your game. Would you be willing to talk to me about it? Or I'm about to play your game. Is there anything you'd like me to check out along the way? And I know a lot of those games are a little bit older, but at the same time, those developers are still going to be happy to hear from people that are just now experiencing the game. How old is Mystical?
I started working on it about 3 years ago.
Right.
Yes, and it takes a while to develop these things, and at the conventions, you do get approached by a lot of streamers and people wanting to promote. So it's definitely a good way to connect at the conventions. I'm not so sure how to reach out outside of the convention. I think Corey, you've done a lot of reaching out outside of the convention.
So how many of you guys have social media? Not like personal, but for like content creation. What social media do you have?
I use Twitter, Facebook, a little bit of Instagram. So, but I'm also not just my own channel, but I'm also part of several other channels as well. Because like I said, personal channel, and then I do a team channel with more on both on YouTube and Twitch. It's a little bit more higher end because it also ties in with a bridge series making and such. So I like to do like voice acting.
Bridge?
Yeah, like
Bridges.
Like Mega Man NT Warrior bridge.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we do.
My bad.
So yeah, like an anime bridge. So they tie in together. So I do voice acting as well, and video editing with them as well, and script writing. And so it's like, okay, what else can we do? It's like, well, live stream is always a thing.
Yep.
So it's always a fun way to keep people interactive within your within the fan bases and such. And it has been. We've done that been more successful actually with the live streams and doing YouTube stuff than the actual channel itself because copyright. It's been a fun thing to learn.
Getting a lot of strikes. Oh, yeah. If you're having issues with YouTube copyright strikes and monetization, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. The AdSense is the least amount of money you can make on YouTube.
Yeah, but the thing is also we've learned that with the bridge series, it's definitely you're not wanting to make money. You're just want to have fun.
Yeah.
So-
You do that. You can set up a Patreon account off to the side. I know that sounds like a simple thing to do, but set up a Patreon or develop your channel to the size that it can start getting people to join as memberships or accept super chats, and you'll have that's way more money than AdSense. So anytime and I know it's important because there's a lot of people who have millions of viewers, and AdSense is a big amount of money for them. But whenever you see, oh, the adpocalypse is coming, all those sensational videos are usually people who don't have their monetary systems in place. All right, so you should be monetizing your merchandise, and you should be monetizing anything that you might create yourself. For example, JC over at JChalant has an ebook, an interactive guide how to develop your own YouTube channel. All right, so jcmediagroup.us. If you want to go check it out, the first chapter is free. I'll give you business cards later if you want one. All right, so that's something that I sell. All of that profit comes to me. All right, so like I said, you can do merchandise, you can do profit, you can do memberships, you can do Patreon, you can do affiliate marketing. There's all types of things you can do to monetize your YouTube channel. So but as long as you're doing it for the passion anyways, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
So long as if you're doing it because you want to do it and not because you have to do it, like you're gonna want to do it. And if you want to do it, eventually the money will come. It just seems like it takes forever.
It does, but because we've been streaming with the team itself more so, that's why a bigger focus because again it has a bigger fan base, a lot more people come in, much funner to interact with people. So that's where the fun is for me. That's about almost 2.5 years now. So it's been a lot of fun. So
Are you a member of the Arizona Stream community? On
yes,
Facebook?
actually Arizona Streams.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay, so they're a good group of people,
Oh, yeah,
and they
they're-
do their
they're-
events. Everybody else know about this group?
JC Streams, yeah, great
Yeah,
people.
they
Great, super
have
friends.
monthly or bi-monthly events around the valley
Next one should be this month.
too. Yeah, I think they're doing an ice skating event.
Oh,
It sounded like they were.
so I'm like,
Yeah.
sounds interesting. I've never been ice skating. So.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not an ice skater, but it might be fun to go and have a couple drinks while everybody else skates.
You mentioned earlier about Patreon. You said it was simple, but it wasn't simple. It sounded simple.
It is
It
simple.
sounds simple, but
It's another platform that you have to put content on.
Yeah.
Right? So I have set up a Patreon page for myself, but I haven't developed it because I just wanted to give the idea of how, and it is easy. You can set it up, sign yourself up, set up your method of payment compensation, how they release to you.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that's easy. But then what are you going to do? I have set it up so that I'm going to put up like one chapter of my book every other week on Patreon, and then also once a month have a list of jobs that I know are available through my connections that I've made. But then I also put those on YouTube because I want people to understand that I want this knowledge to be available to everybody, right? There's a paywall there for people who want to support the channel. You know, does that make sense? Who like the concept? I'm doing it, I'd like to get paid. I'm doing it because I want to teach people how to do it themselves, right? My niece and nephew, like I said, hey, how did you do this? And other people, how do you even do this? I'm like, well, this is how, you know, if you want to be a programmer, you learn to program, and then you go and introduce yourself to some studios, or maybe, just maybe, you learn, why am I drawing a blank here? What software to use?
Unity.
Unity and
We have Unreal.
Unreal. Yeah. What's the 3D modeler you use?
Oh, I don't do any 3D modeling.
Really? Just use
commission-
Unity and okay.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
a commission out of
Yeah.
artists actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you could, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I'm so excited to tell all you as much as possible. But yeah, you can Unity and Unreal. Unreal, if you code in Unreal, you can get a grant from Unreal if your project's close enough to completion. So there's ways to fund your projects. And if you're looking more for the streaming side, stream.
Become a programmer. That's the end of the day. Stream and then become a
Yeah,
programmer.
it's true.
And then stream your own games.
I like the vertical integration.
It's free. Do it all. You're gonna stream
Blender
your
is
own
the word I
game
was
once you
looking
develop
for.
it.
Blender, 3D modeling, free, also free. So if we're talking about ways to keep your costs down, production value high, there you go.
Blender's been becoming increasingly powerful and
Yep.
user-friendly.
Yep. Maya is still the one of note. I was at BlizzCon recently and was talking to some of those developers and programmers. Maya is still the industry standard,
Yeah.
but they are very much aware that Blender is coming down, and they're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to the time when they can have people do a lot of the modeling in Blender and then just export the models and bring them over into Maya.
ZBrush is another.
ZBrush?
Yeah,
Oh, it's a great
it's
partner.
expensive, but they have a more like cheaper like old version.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be
And I-
peanut gallery.
I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have like a bundle that came
Only
with a
because I
runtime
represent
like
me.
ZBrush tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, have you ever heard of secondlife.com?
Of course.
Yes.
And what do you think of there? Have you played it?
I only played it once about a decade ago
Uh,
when a business interest of mine, a company called Thinking Cap Learning, and they do personnel development, and they were looking to use Second Life as a personal development resource so that members of their staff could log into the game and then take whatever courses were designed by the interactive developer.
yeah.
I never researched it beyond that, other than knowing that there are several people who've made a lot of money in Second Life.
Yeah,
Creating-
at the beginning, not anymore.
Not anymore, yeah.
Incredibly stiff now.
Oh, big competition now?
Yeah.
When you control, there are other MMOs who have done that as well, where you have a city center and then people were allowed to purchase property near the city center.
Yeah.
So those people were able to sell their goods and services better, just like in real life, you know? So that's an interesting paradigm, the money to be made in creating, digital goods.
Well, I mean, you're selling, like items like T-shirts or vehicles or whatever for like the equivalent of 15 to 20 cents.
Right.
So, I mean, if you break even with your rent costs every month, you're considered pretty lucky. So,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of people take a loss in Second Life to have a store because they make, $70,000 in real life, but it's just costing them $35 to have a store. So, it's kind of a weird economy where.
Sounds like it's time for me to get back into Second City.
So it's that way. But no, I was thinking, have you guys seen some of the stuff that the Star Trek builds for, like Babylon 5 or Battlestar Galactica? I mean, those things. You ever seen those TV shows? I mean, you walk in there, it looks like you are on the Battlestar Galactica, or like you're on the Starship Enterprise or Voyager or whatever. They're so,
Some of the builds?
realistic, yeah.
Oh yeah. I can imagine. I spend a lot of time in Minecraft. I know it's totally different, but it's still a build. It's more boxy. Yeah, I get that. But I've seen some mega builds in my time. That's for sure. What is so exciting over there? Oh man. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, we should on the count of 5. You want to do it? You willing to do it?
Okay, yeah.
On the count of 5, we'll all scream too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're even. Now they know that this place is happening too.
So,
Oh my gosh. Cool. Anything else?
we have a band meeting.
You have a band meeting.
Well, let's tell another story because another similar event is similar to this. Me and my friends did an introductory to voice acting online at Stapleton a couple years back. We got unlucky and we got in the ballroom, one half of the ballroom, with the band behind us.
Oh, that's rough.
So we still had fun. We had fun just working, not with the band itself, but with all the noise we were doing. We made jokes and all that, but I know this is how this feels.
Are you still doing voice acting?
Oh yes, actually, yeah. The channel's still going. We're actually, despite the all the copyrights and everything, we are actually remastering our first 8 episodes and posting them on another channel that we've actually worked with and has a made close relationship called Fat Dog Studios. And so we're posting we're posting the remastered episodes. We're rewriting the scripts a little bit to update the jokes and such, and posting them on the channel so that they're just coming back and being remastered and relived, so we can bring that out.
Awesome.
So it didn't help as well because right when we were making the shows, working on the shows and everything, Japan decided to reinvent the original series over in Japan, all the licensing and such. So right when we were getting on, bringing in with Shoda Pro and all these other companies that own property for copyright. And so YouTube's has not been easy in that time.
Yeah. Lately, the YouTube thing most recently is the age restriction stuff. If you're not developing content specific, the guidance that they put forward isn't the greatest, but just don't be trying to sell less than teenagers gambling things. I think it's the easiest way to put what's going on with Copa right now.
Yeah, I was paranoid about that.
Yeah,
I said,
you don't have to
worry about it.
Yeah, I know. You're fine.
It seems like everyone will be fine, yeah.
Yeah, as long as what you're doing is fine. As soon as games and animation are not necessarily kids-only things.
No.
Everybody in this room knows that, but not everybody in legal does. So it is what it is. All right. What else? What else can we talk about here? Any other?
So,
Yes, sir.
I came in late, but what do you think of VR and future holodeck technology?
VR is getting even better.
Oh yeah.
Even better.
But will there ever be a time where we won't need the thing anymore and we can just walk into a room and it looks like whatever?
You could walk into a room now. It's just that it's a lot of equipment to set
Yeah,
up.
that's true.
It's a lot of equipment, and most of the setups like that, they use projection screen in order to put the camera where they need it to be, rather than set up the monitors and then do the camera work. If that makes any sense? Because then you can have overlap, right? And you don't have all these bezels. So they'll do geodesic dome, and they'll project from ups and 4 or 5 from down, and sometimes they'll put that roly-poly platform in the middle. So you can definitely do full immersive VR like that. The day ever comes where it'll be a full wrap to get your own peripheral views in. Well, I don't know. That's probably a couple more generations away still. But then again, as quick as it's going.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. Look, say what I don't know how you feel about being full dive for over 2 years and all, but SAO does sound pretty cool. Except for that whole dying thing. Then you wake up. Okay, that'd be cool.
So do they have stream coverage of VR?
They do.
Do they really? Oh,
yeah,
okay,
but there's
okay.
not too many channels of it, because what you normally see, the VR setup for streaming is somebody on a green screen and then they're projected into the environment. So, like Beat Saber, for example, you'll see the person over there, or they'll put them off in a corner like you would now in a stream. But usually it's green screen stuff. When I see what you're saying. It would be nice if it was first-person perspective, and then let's do a let's play, like let Twitch play the game, right? So that'd be cool. I mean, there's content to be made there. There's a lot of with the VR space, so that's going to cost a lot of money. The most recent VR I understand is about $1,000, right? So
well, we're also trying to make it more accessible though, like because I know with the
Oculus
the Oculus company is like trying to make it more accessible because no longer you're not needing an entire just a computer or anything now. Everything's now just in the headband and you have the controllers.
When they're using like streaming platform services,
Exactly.
they're like using GeForce streaming or something. You don't know?
And that's what the system now.
It's possible. If your bandwidth's solid enough, you could stream from my computer. I know.
Yeah.
Nice.
We actually have our own studio as well that we use for all of our streaming and voice acting and stuff like that. So that's a good little dedication spot.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I was in El Paso, and this idea didn't work out, and I think it's because they marketed it wrong. They had VR, but you were sitting in a roller coaster or whatever. There's a bunch of seats here, and the seats shake, and
The shake and the shimmy?
Yeah, would say, hey, I'm seasick or whatever, I'm going to do this. What they should have done was just make a London bus and say, hey, let's take a trip around London. And then you put on your VR glasses and you're on one of those double-decker buses, and what you see is real life all around you. And I think that would have worked a lot better if they didn't go with that.
No, if you play a racing game in a car, don't ask. You will feel like weird feelings of acceleration while you're watching it as the car speeds up and slows down.
No, I mean, but the thing is, they were shaking around so much that they made people seasick, and it's like, I can't handle this. You know, it's like,
The old school feel-o-visions, you know. Yeah, would they spray water in your face? Yeah.
Full experience.
The full experience. Yeah, you're basically like in a spot, like 6 like chairs all tied together, all doing the same thing. I totally get that. Yeah, you're right. It's not conducive to the immersiveness. That's for
Well, I had
sure.
an idea, but I don't have enough money to do it or the technology. Where I'd actually buy a London bus and basically just surround the surroundings. You know, as you drive by, you see whatever is going on down, Regent Street, or you make a turn on the Piccadilly, and then to Shaftesbury Avenue down London or whatever. And you're on this double-decker bus, or at least a pretend one.
So would you
and
like?
then there's a tour guide, giving you like details,
That would be cool.
just like as if you were really on the London bus.
I'm sure there's an opportunity there in the civic departments. I'm sure that there's always people in government willing to spend money on projects like that, right?
Yeah. They want to be with what's new and trending. And a lot of game dev stuff, they're finally seeing the potential in it. It was hard working with schools and governments with game dev recently, but now after the game dev movie, remember the indie dev movie? That changed a lot because that showed the Canada Bros very bragged about how much money they're putting into indie games, and everybody everywhere was like, well, that means everybody's excited about Canada doing that now, so everybody wanted to follow suit. So yeah, even talking to governments about those kinds of programs, you can even find funding if you go and be professional, stuff like that. Yeah, you don't even have to have the funding. If you talk to banks and city governments kind of in tandem, you can do that kind of stuff.
I'd have to find a program on who'd be willing to do it.
Are you, by chance, are you a veteran? Anyone here
I am
a veteran?
a veteran.
You are a veteran? There's programs available to you right around the corner here. I'm not sure where the building is relative to this building, but there's a government building that specializes in finding veterans like ourselves funding for projects.
Oh,
I forget the exact address, but I can look it up
okay.
if you want me to. I can look into that for you.
Cool.
There's also funding available for women. Ladies, gentlemen, you guys are SOL. That's the way it is. You got to do what you got to do. But those projects are there, and you can always find them. You can call up any local government entity, really, and they'll probably send you on your way where you need to be. It's like, hey, I'm looking for this. That's true. I'm intrigued by the bus phenomenon thing. Because you could probably get a hold of video footage from Waymo or Google or whoever, since they've already got it recorded. I bet you they'd be willing to sell or license it.
There's another idea if you want to go, vertical upwards. The Eiffel Tower has a see-through elevator where you can look at all sides, and while you're going up the tower, you can see outside in Paris, and that could work too.
See, if you get enough funding, even you could go take 3D footage and write it off as a business expense and go have to ride the Eiffel Tower as a part of it. Yeah.
What is going on over there? Well, we're learning stuff here. So
Going along with the new ideas or upcoming things, as streamers, how do you guys promote? Do you guys promote yourselves to your audience, and how do you go about that?
You want to go first?
Sure. Social media and my comments pretty unique. Okay, around interacting with games. So hit the game and now I'll stream again. Maybe interact. I like to ask them questions. That's kind of how I promote. Besides going live, obviously, it's not good to just have going live. Obviously, you have to have more content going live. And a lot of times, if that's pretty cool. A lot of times, we retweet my tweet or do original tweets and say, hey, this person's streaming my game. Go check them out. So that's part of how I promote myself. Other than just making friends with devs and also don't be afraid to ask for a game keys. Just don't be a jerk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen some posts where people feel entitled and it's nice if you get a key, but if you don't,
From a developer's side of the game keys, we get a lot of scam requests for game keys. Literally, no matter how small you are on launch day, you get hundreds of scam requests for game keys. So it's like a human, physical person that we talk to asking for game keys, and you guys are almost guaranteed to give it up because there's a basically 100% chance that you're not going to go and sell it, and that's the best kind of thing we could hope for. Yeah. So definitely asking for game keys as a game dev, we're totally down hearing that. And yeah, what he was saying about having a pile of them, I definitely always keep a bunch on hand and just pass out for me too.
How do you go about promoting?
Promoting on my Twitch stream is predominantly done through my YouTube channel because YouTube is the search algorithm. It's the #1 search engine. Well, excuse me, Google's the #1 search engine.
Google's #1.
YouTube's #2, right? So if somebody's searching for something, an idea, a concept, a game, for example, a free game on the Epic Game Store, I wonder what that game's like before I download it for free. Well, I'll search over here. Here's somebody who's talking about it, right? So try to do clips of those and then guide them over to your stream that way. I tell because that's where people are searching and subscribing and watching video content on YouTube, right? If they want to watch a live stream, they'll come over there for sure. But if you tell them that's where you're at, okay, great. On the Twitch side of thing, and I'm using Twitch because it's the predominant majority holder, right? On the Twitch side, they don't have a search, really. They have games that you can look at, and it's scaled by viewers, right? So if you could get, and I'm not telling anybody to do anything unethical, but if you could get, say, 20 of your closest friends to log in and watch your stream when you go live, right? You're automatically going to be up in the first 1 or 2 rows of the search bar at that point, right? So you might get more hits during that time. Having a consistent schedule is probably the best way to get noticed on Twitch, all right? If you're there at certain times every day, or certain days every time, if that makes sense either way, then as long as you're there on those times, and the people who are watching you are going to come more often, and they're going to tell more people about it. And again, your viewer count is going to be higher, so you're going to be more likely to be noticed in the Twitch search, which isn't that great, right? Also on Twitter.
If you do a schedule,
I try to.
I'm sure if it's your day-to-day kind of varies or whatnot, but how often is that? Is it every day, or you try and do every other day?
I try to do 3 to 4 days a week. Right, and I usually try to avoid Tuesdays because Tuesdays is a big ingestion day for a lot of servers. So you'll get a lot of server disconnects, especially on Twitch. Right, there's a lot of maintenance goes down on Twitch on Tuesdays. Tuesdays a big because that's the day and hour where fewest people are playing all games. So that's why Blizzard's resets theirs. That's why Twitter resets theirs. That's why
I was just going to say it's software development push day.
Yeah, exactly. It's a push day, so that's a day that's down. So I avoid streaming on Tuesdays. I avoid streaming on Mondays. And I avoid streaming against large events, Super Bowl, for example, World Series, for example. I would avoid streaming against those, unless you're streaming specific content, right? If you're streaming a football game on Super Bowl, that might get you some good traffic. If you're MLB The Show, is that still a thing? EA is the one that stopped producing baseball games. So those are things that would do. Twitter, of course, Mix in, you don't want to just, I do this, this is a bad example. You don't want to just tweet out that you're going live on Twitch, right? You want to add other things in there too. So what I tend to do is download memes and funny photos from Facebook throughout my course of my day, and I have a folder for putting it out on Twitter. So I'll just do it like that. I'll give people updates on my life, and I'll give people updates on things that are coming down the pipe, who I'm set to interview, who I'm going to go see, which conventions I'm going to go attend. But a lot of the tweets that I put out are I'm going live on Twitch, right? Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, during Game of Thrones, some people, subscribe to HBO, but on YouTube, we watch the play-by-play.
Right.
And there was
Game
a
of
guy
Leslie
there,
Jones.
and he was explaining everything that was happening on the screen and kind of showing it a little bit in the background,
Right.
too, so that could get you some viewers too, although I don't know if it's going to get you a copyright strike. They were able to do it, so
It depends on how derivative the work is, but yes, you're right. You could get a copyright strike by doing something like that. I have seen people here. This is a new thing recently on YouTube where you will see the thumbnail, great thumbnail pic, very attractive thumbnail. We want you to click on it. It teases the value of the program you're about to watch. The title teases the value of the program you're about to. It said, let me use an example relative to here. My Hero Academia most recent episode explained. Like, ooh, okay, so what was this about? And rather than explaining like the nuances of the background or somebody's spin on it, they're just describing every act of the show, right? So those people get clicks that way. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's out there. That's a way to do it. But yeah, you do come up against stuff like that. They're definitely running into monetization issues. They're probably getting short-term gain in the terms of subscribers, but they're going to lose those in the long term because they're not going to be able to produce the content on a regular basis, right? People are going to go elsewhere. So unless they mix it up like Nux does, I mean, he used to be pretty formulaic, but he's lately, last year or so, he's been putting out some pretty entertaining content. So.
No, I was going to add about Twitter and Facebook too. Those are good places to help you find followers. With Twitter, lots of people worry that they don't have people about posting. And it's important to, even if you feel like you're shouting around people all the time, when people finally show up, they're going to see you have all this backlog of content, and it feels to them like you've been doing this the whole time. The other thing is they really want to know you're a real person. So yeah, don't only tweet that you're streaming. The other thing that I see happening a lot, and I've had a lot of streamers this way that have built a lot of popularity, is go to the indie game dev groups on Facebook. Scan through the posts, even ones that you can gauge which ones are getting more interactivity and less interactivity, and try to find ones that maybe less streamers might have even talked to. Start just adding, lots of them will just add all of us, and then they post just the best memes I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, that somehow is the secret sauce to Facebook stream marketing. Yeah, and it just gets a lot of us to start checking out their streams because they slowly build up.
I've been getting a lot of indie game developers following me on Twitter lately just because of the work I've been doing.
Yeah.
So, and it's a treasure trove because you don't get this kind of interpersonal connectivity with larger studios. So if you really want to grow quickly, get to know a lot of indie game developers.
Yeah, hashtags on Twitter too. You should be using hashtags for your stuff. There's a righttag.com. I think there's ways you should be tracking what hashtags are kind of have the most people viewing them. And be looking in the game dev hashtags too. What you were saying about Twitter's a treasure trove. My goodness, top tier indie devs left and right, everywhere on Twitter, completely undiscovered, just some of the best stuff I've ever seen and very little interaction. If you were streaming some of that incredible content, it would help bring views to you and bring views to them.
And also every Wednesday on Twitter is indie dev hour where indie devs will post screenshots of what they're working on. So that's a good way to just give a new indie devs and interact and kind of be ooh, you game looks cool, and you can start forming that relationship.
Yeah, I got you. Speaking of you're working on something. Are you close to being able to tell anybody about it?
Yeah, we have a couple things that are over.
In case anybody might be interested in streaming their next project.
Yeah, right. I think I talked to you a little bit about it at the beginning, but I brought some videos, and we're getting close to the end here. We're at 6:15, so I'll just play a little video of our.
Show us this trailer.
Yeah, it's actually our display of when we have our conventions. We toss up this guy, Mystical Misfits. You're playing as a little character on the side, shooting these enemies. The speed is increased a little bit. But What's that?
2 times.
2 times. There we go. Or
Oh wait, no, it's 1.5.
is it 1.5? Yeah.
So it's predominantly on a mouse or tablet. I say mouse, I mean.
Yeah. So it's phone and tablet oriented. There's 3 different types of controls. You can either drag your finger across the side to move the character in whatever direction your finger is, or you can just do a snap to touch, which essentially is just like teleports you to wherever your finger is. So you can kind of get some like major skill shots with those. Or there's also like a joystick, but you know how clunky kind of joysticks are on the mobile. They kind of have that delay or whatnot. So we have all 3 of those, and essentially you have like a spell book of spells that you can kind of arm yourself with. So depending on the level, you can like have some major like single shots that'll put a lot of damage, or you can kind of cover this screen with like a bunch of stuff. You know, there's also bosses in here. So the boss will be like another magician or a spellcaster kind of thing, and it'll be shooting spells back and forth at you, moving up and down on the screen, kind of dodging your spells or whatnot.
Real quick while I'm thinking about it, everybody who streams here have a camera?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You'd be surprised how many don't. Right? People want to see that interactivity, and a lot of people don't do it, so that's the number one thing I would say.
Oh, like camera to get your reactions
Yeah.
while you're playing the game and whatnot. Okay.
Exactly.
I get you.
And if you're a speedrunner, you need to have 2 cameras. One's for your hands, so they know you're not putting in false inputs.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Yeah, because you see all those like.
Dude, they are really stepping up their game. Yeah. I do want to make sure if the takeaway from this, if you're going to go home tonight and start streaming more, and you want to be more aggressive with your streaming, set up a schedule, and maybe cut down the total hours to a shorter hour. It might feel like you're not getting as much done, but then that rhythm is going to be better for you, I think, in the long run. Sir, yes, sir.
I used to be able to go live on YouTube, but recently I tried to go live once and it says you need 1,000 subscribers to do
Yep.
that.
About a year and a half ago, there were some issues, and they changed their partnership program, and some of us were grandfather claused in, because I don't have enough subscribers. I did it, and then I had 100 subscribers, and in the span of the last year, I've gained another 300 subscribers. So, I mean, that's good growth for me. I expect it to continue exponentially like that. Your requirements are going to be 1,000 concurrent subscribers and 4,000 hours of view time within a month. All right? So keep gunning for the subscribers first, making sure your content's good. 10 to 15 minutes is the sweet spot right now for the algorithm. Most people are finding that people who put up a 15-minute video, people will watch for 8 to 10, right? So you're looking for view duration. So call that 10 minutes, right? And you need, 4,000 hours of that? So you know how many subscribers you need, right?
Don't quit your day job.
Yeah, I wouldn't. not until you, and again, you know what? But that's to get AdSense. That's to get AdSense. That's to be able to get Super Chat. That's to be able to get memberships from YouTube. But you don't need those things. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You might have been a little late to show. The best monetization you could do on YouTube is to sell your own product, your own knowledge, your own information, something that you could share with somebody, your own merchandise. You can set up affiliate links through Amazon to sell whatever your car components for your computer are, or whatever you're featuring. Could be any number of things. There's lots of ways. You can do charities as well. You can set up Patreon. We talked about that briefly. You know, for people who believe in what you're doing and want to support you without doing. You can do direct payments through PayPal. You know, if you really wanted to. There's ways to monetize beyond being a YouTube partner. But use YouTube. Use Google and YouTube. They're there. They're number 1, number 2 in search, right? Everybody goes there to find whatever they're going to find out about whatever. You don't go to Twitch to figure out how to switch, change the plumbing in your shower.
My channel's been up for like 9 years. I have 150 subscribers, and most of them are my friends. So
it starts like that. Well, what is your channel about?
Mine is called The Phantom of Many Topics. Whenever I go to a convention, I do a video. I've already done the video of the walkthrough for the vendor. I usually get about 150 views, but if I go to like something like Anime Expo, I get 1,000 views. It's
just showcasing the cosplay?
Convention. Huh?
Showcasing the cosplay?
No, basically I just take a camera and I'm walking through the vendor hall. And basically, that's all I'm doing. I'm going, hey, that's Spider-Man. Oh, it's Wonder Woman. You know, and I don't edit or anything because I don't have any editing features. I just load it right up. I guess, and also if you load early, you get more views. I noticed that. Like
Sure.
if you wait a day or two, or even if you
On
wait
top
like
of
2 days after the convention's over, forget it. You have to be like right there, right then, at that moment, you know. And,
All right, so you're in a predicament where you need to get as many of those eyes that see your content subscribed in like a day,
Yeah.
right? So what you need to start doing is at the beginning or throughout the duration of your video, add calls to action such as, why don't you subscribe to this channel to see more like this? I have a convention coming up next week here. Subscribe to be sure to see that.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't ask for the sale on that because for the first 8 or 10 years or whatever, to me it was just a record of me going to the convention. So I remember, hey, I went to
And
that
that's super cool.
And I never monetized any of that.
You don't have to if you don't want to. You have this archive footage that people come to your channel now will see all these past events.
Right.
Right? So what you might start thinking about doing is creating like little bingo cards. And like, at this convention, if we see one Naruto and one Yu Yu Hakusho and we get a free space and whatever the other two are,
Yeah.
Sakura, you know.
There's ways to do promotions.
You can do it. There's a lot of creative insight there. And you have the archive footage there already. So there you have upward potential. I promise you. Based on what you've told us here. And it's just a matter of making sure you do those calls to action. You're not asking to buy anything. Just, if you want to start in the AdSense fashion, if you want to get your YouTube channel to the point where people are watching it and the content you have they should watch, especially with that archive catalog, if you can tighten it up so it's just the glamour shots, as they say, I think you'll do fine.
Well, I think I called mine the Phantom of Many Topics because I don't really have a core audience. Like when I go on vacation to London, I put that in there. And it has nothing to do with, you know, the anime world or Comic-Con or whatever. It was just a record of, you know, exciting places I was into. And some guys said, no, that's not really a model. You need to, you know, if you're going to do that, create a separate channel. It's like Disney has R-rated movies, but they're not called Disney. They're called Touchstone or something like that. Because you want to brand yourself in a particular way, you know, to get a particular audience. Like he says, all I do is just talk about Star Wars. I don't even talk about Star Trek. I'm that specific in terms of, so his people come to his, you know, show and they just talk about, you know, the latest Star Wars movie or Mandalorian or whatever, or he ventures into Marvel sometimes, you know, but he doesn't go outside of Disney. You know, it's like he doesn't talk about Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica or anything like that. He's very focused. He gets that focused audience.
Well, for sure. A niche market will create a very impassioned viewer.
Yeah.
So if you want to create more niche in what you're doing,
Yeah.
then that might get more passionate viewers. But again, I think just those two things that I kind of mentioned to you, adding calls to action early in your video, reminding people about what you're about, tell them what you're about, tell them what your mission statement is, for example. Say, hey, this is why I do this. Share that with them. Because there's going to be people out there who resonate with that. I like that guy's doing that. They're going to
So you gotta
subscribe.
make it personal, like you're their friend.
For sure.
I noticed like waiters, you know, at restaurants, if they say, "Hey, my name is David,"
Yes.
they get like $1 or $2 more just because they personalize the service. I guess.
True story. True story. No, that's my guidance to you.
Okay.
I say if you like, I'll give you my business card after if you want to get some
Okay.
more contact information. Yes. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. You're good.
No.
So I'm gonna jump in here and show what I've been working on. Again, it's just kind of a passion project. Very nostalgia fueled. I grew up playing like classic roguelikes in the late 80s, early 90s. So I like dragged out my old TVs and made different screen modes so you can kind of replicate your own nostalgia. But also got your classic like Sega Genesis NES style intro. That's my friend's first time doing pixel art, and I hate him forever. But again, I wanted to like kind of recapture other people's nostalgia and bring new people into kind of the roguelike crowd. I'll jump right into the class. Good. Okay, so I linked everything up with the solar and lunar calendars because I could. And so I have holiday events that kind of run during solar events, so like the solstice and other stuff like that, and then it detects all of the lunar events. So like playing the game on a full moon makes it like a lot crazier. There's actually like the way the whole game kind of works. It's so bizarre and complicated. I'll show you some actual gameplay. which
Is that an internal clock or is it based on the actual?
so I base it on your clock, but I'm going to add an internal clock because people started changing things, which are totally cool with them changing the dates to redo events, but I'm worried it'll mess with their system updates. So yeah, I'm going to start doing internal clocks that I will tempt people to mess with it. But like, again, just little updates to the classic formula, 4 enemies to a tile, like I was saying, and I just wanted something that felt strategic. Roguelikes were so very luck-based, you know, and I could make a luck-based build in NetHack and still die from a bad roll, and it was like, what was the point of any of that? I do Diablo-style shrines. Oops, I got to build out. Okay. So again, very strategic. You can always tell what's going on ahead of time. But I wanted something that can cater to like new and old players alike. So I made it so it kind of detects how good you're doing at the game. And if you're doing too well, you'll get like a quest where you think you're going to eradicate all of the goblin enemies who are the weakest enemy forever. You accidentally turn them all into overpowered orcs, which is the hardest enemy you fought to that point, and so they'll all be forever replaced like that. And what I was saying about the whole game's driven by like kind of these meta settings. I don't even tell players on the Twitter about it. I let them figure it out. These meta settings that like have to do with like how much glitchiness is in the world and which gods you have alive. I loved Animal Crossing's idea that multiple save files are in a shared universe together. So like the mechanics are governed by gods you can find and kill. And if you like kill the goddess of health, the new games you start will still have this weird warped health mechanic, stuff like that. And all these variables are kind of shifting as the full moons and the solar events happen. But if you go out and perform rituals, you can totally mess with, oh, there's a sacrificial altar. Do I have any severed heads on me? I do not, because you know, I just always walk around with these things on me. But I can find quest givers and sacrifice them. If I bring living ones, I'll get a dagger that gives me psychic powers, but demons will hunt me for the rest of my life. But just everything that ever popped into my head, I woke up that morning and programmed it right away. And people would literally ask me that question, and I'm like, yeah, that's, they think they're being ridiculous, and it's like, no, you explained my process. And I just wanted something, roguelikes felt like such an exclusive club, you know? There's things in them that when you find it, you feel like you're the only person who's seen that. You have to be really good at them to do that kind of stuff. And so that's why things like, again, I said you could run into Missing No from the Pokemon games here, because they can't copyright what he looks like. I just wanted to add tons and tons and tons of kind of content that falls out on accident, so you kind of have that roguelike discovery feeling. And a lot of players, like, I'll go and creep on the roguelike Reddit and see what people are saying about it, and then same with the Discord. And I'll see people talk about like, I was using half the mechanics with no idea what I was doing, and I talked to the dev and he said, no, that's in fact the right way to play the game. Yeah, so just something that was different, strategic. This is, I don't know if you guys know the Faith games. It's kind of a popular horror game series now, but I have this character crossover. Oh, there he is. Oh god, I'm not going to start this. He will hunt you forever. And ever and ever. Oh yeah, but again, I work with the community and get cool events and other people. He shows up on Friday the 13th too. My clock thing, you can detect that. So. Yeah. I post on Twitter constantly about weird updates and events, and we're right now working on a secret second project that is, I can't fully talk about it, but it's the weirdest, most disturbing thing anyone's ever made. Everyone who sees it is shocked and instantly wants to play it, but I can talk about it on my Twitter and that kind of stuff for now, because I was already doing it before I got signed up with anything. And so check out my Twitter, and I think we're out of time.
Do we have something coming in right after this, probably?
I think there's 30 minutes between sessions. So.
If anyone has any questions, then.
For sure.
About game development or programming or streaming or any of those.
One of the other perks is if you ever have an idea for a game and you happen to be working with developers and designers all the time, you might happen to know one that's right in the wheelhouse for your project. So we'll talk later. Not you, sorry. I was thinking about Tyson earlier this week. Because it's a mobile.
Tyson's going to help anyone. It's going to be.
Oh, okay. We can do it all together.
Yeah.
We can do it all together. It's a simple.
I got one in mind.
We'll talk later. You got it. I'm always willing to talk. Anybody? Any other questions?